Off that fiddling man. Said you never ever forget our hands, and no big fiddling man.
Just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
I'm out here still searching, still fighting to try to find them. That's all I can do.
The message is still, if anyone knows anything?
If anybody knows anything, just come forward as soon as possible. 2 little kids are still out there. I want to find them. That's really all I can do.
Is there something that you think the public doesn't know that you can share, that you want the public to know?
That's a hard one because I don't want to impede the investigation in any way. It is still a missing persons investigation. It hasn't pivoted to any type of criminal investigation. But the kids were seen the day before. I know a lot of people didn't know that. I still see a lot of stuff online that the kids could have been missing for days. They were out of school for days, and they were seen in the Glasgow area on camera the day before the disappearance in the afternoon.
Either way, I'm not going to say it because I don't believe they are in my heart. Just keep praying for Jack and Lily, and I've been doing it every night. I'm hoping to God that he'll answer me. I'm hoping that the people that know where Jack and Lily are will please, I'm begging you, please drop them off here. They will be safe. We will get them to the authorities. That's all I want. That's all anybody wants. If there is enough people praying and enough people out there looking for them, hopefully we can find them. Hopefully we can bring them home to stop this.
I know somebody knows where they're at. I know somebody out there knows where they're at. Just bring them home or let us know where to find them. I just want them to be found. At this point, I don't even care who did what. I just want to know that they're home.
Their smiles are just beautiful.
Belinda Gray wants everyone to know how much her grandchildren are loved. 6-year-old Lily Mae Sullivan.
She was our little princess.
And her 4-year-old brother, Jack William James Sullivan.
Jack is a very sober little boy, very intent.
Missing from their rural Nova Scotia home since Friday, May 2nd.
Are you able to authorize and start getting some search teams going?
Radio chatter illustrates search crews and first responders mobilizing.
A lot of area to cover. We're out in the sticks here.
For an exhaustive search that would run a total of 12,000 hours.
You know, it's quite rare that in my career I've never seen 2 missing children go at the same time.
Police say they found a boot print believed to be child size, but have otherwise been tight-lipped.
So I can tell you that the investigation is ongoing and that we haven't found any evidence to show that there was an abduction of the children.
So you don't think they were abducted, but you can't find them. How do 2 young children just vanish?
That's a great question, Kayla, and we are asking for the public for tips and information.
He says more than 50 people have been interviewed, among them Gray and her son, the children's biological father.
A couple of days ago, they had contact and they told him that they weren't looking his way anymore, that everything was fine.
As she clings to cherished keepsakes,
This is Lily's handprint.
she is pleading for information.
I know somebody out there knows where they're at.
She says she just wants answers, no matter how difficult they may be. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia.
My heart tells me these babies are gone. My heart tells me that.
How did you find out that Lily and Jack were missing?
The mom of my grandson called me. We were in town. She asked if I heard the news. She sent me the article that was on Facebook showing the kids missing. I couldn't call Malehya yet, so I waited till we got home. And I called, well, I didn't call her, I texted her. And she told me that, yes, that the kids were missing, that they've been missing since this morning. I was in a state of panic, shock. But in the back of my mind, I kept saying, well, they'll find them. I mean, I'm assuming that they'd find them.
There is nothing more pure and innocent than a 6 and a 4-year-old. And they deserve so much better than what they got.
Okay, welcome in everyone. I know that was a lengthy start, but I wanted to play the Kylie Rodni song at the beginning, but I also wanted to play this collection of clips. This ties in with what I'm talking about today with Daniel, because I wanted to just highlight that Belinda and Chelsea, well, we've had all these beautiful interviews from Belinda where she has had her heart on her sleeve. And the media has shown that. Okay, sorry, audio again. Damn it. Hang on. Okay, that's got it. Sorry about that. My audio was playing up. Not only have we seen all these interviews with Belinda where we've seen the emotion, where we've heard her pleading, but you just have to look on Facebook to see that her and Chelsea have not stopped posting on Facebook since day one. And I wanted to highlight that because we have, of course, had the latest comments from Janie and Daniel where they're like, well, the media doesn't show they don't want to show the emotion. They don't want to show the pleading and stuff. They're saying, yeah, we have pled, but the media doesn't show it. Well, you know what? You've both got Facebook accounts. You could be posting every day like Belinda and Chelsea do. But you don't. Belinda and Chelsea have done this pretty much every day for the past over 12 months now. Now, I didn't share all the ones where Belinda was just sharing videos and stuff like that, but, non-stop to the point of exhaustion. And yet, Daniel and Janie are like, well, the media don't let us plead for the children. So I did want to highlight that. Just going back to Kylie Rodni, so I have to confess, every time I watch that video, it still brings a tear to my eye. I put that up because if you're in my live stream the other day, and you've probably seen it up on, it's probably come into your feed quite a bit. This week, Ryan Upchurch, who is a kind of country musician with a huge following, Kylie's father and her grandfather won a civil lawsuit against him because he basically decided, and I know Charmaine said this in her live stream yesterday, but I need to correct a few things. He decided that he was going to cover Kylie's case. Now, at the time, it was because he has a sister who was the same age as Kylie when Kylie went missing. And I will give him this. He did put up as a reward his Hellcat car, which was worth like about $100,000. And after Adventures with Purpose found Kylie, he did actually honour that. He gave the Hellcat to Doug Bishop, I believe. And Doug Bishop was the leader of the dive team. And he also donated $100,000 to Adventures with Purpose. So, he did show that generosity. However, he was putting out videos quite regularly with Kylie's case. And with those videos, he was claiming that there was no proof that Kylie was real. He was claiming that it was just a big grifting scam by the family. And there were so many other claims, but that was the biggest one, the claim that Kylie wasn't real. There was no evidence that Kylie was real. The family was grifting. Now, there was an issue that there was a GoFundMe set up not long after Kylie went missing. oh, sorry, losing my voice. There was a GoFundMe set up not long after Kylie went missing, and it was set up by a friend of Kylie's mother. Now, the GoFundMe was specifically set up to raise more money for a reward fund. And the wording on the GoFundMe was exactly that. On the 15th of August, Adventures with Purpose announced that they were going to come and they were going to search for Kylie. So that was about 9 days after Kylie had gone missing. Yeah, that little girl, this is Kylie, and I'll tell her story a little bit more after I finish talking about Ryan. So Adventures with Purpose announced on the 15th of August they were going to come looking for Kylie. And around the 15th or the 16th, the GoFundMe got changed from being raising money to pay more for the reward for finding Kylie. It got changed to this GoFundMe is for money to support Kylie's family. Now, it's actually against the rules with GoFundMe to change what it's for. And I think that was one thing that Ryan did react to. And a lot of people reacted to that because it did seem like a bit of an underhanded thing to be raising money with a GoFundMe, and it was quite a sizable GoFundMe too. To be raising money with a GoFundMe for one thing, and then when you've got all this money that's come in, change it, and instead of saying it's reward, say it's going to the family. So there was a little bit of ill will. But Ryan just went too far and he said Kylie wasn't real. So this week, Kylie's father and her grandfather got awarded $17.5 million damages in a civil lawsuit. Now, Ryan's got the money to hand over. It's small change for him. He's, if you look in PACER, there's a million other lawsuits against this guy. There was another content creator, Iked Mel, who took out a lawsuit against Ryan because Ryan accused him of being a pedophile kind of thingy. What's the, you know, what I'm trying to say there. So Iked Mel also had a lawsuit against Ryan and won. So that's why I wanted to play that video at the beginning, just a tribute to Kylie, especially because a lot of people this week have been jumping on the bandwagon and going, hey, guess what? This, you know, this civil suit happened and this guy Ryan had to pay all this money to the family of a girl who died. So I just wanted to make it real again and also, you know, show that Kylie was real. I've told Kylie's story a number of times. Most of you know that the intro and the outro for my channel is Kylie. That's her singing. The song is called Far Away. I think it's Far Away, is that correct? So that song at the beginning and the end of my live streams and my videos is Kylie singing. It was recorded not too long before she died. Kylie was 16, heading towards her 17th birthday. This was August in 2022. And she was meant to be going to Reno to a car show thing with her mother and her stepfather and her little brother. And last minute change of plans, she ended up going to a party with friends. Her best friend went with her and left the party really early. And basically the next morning, Kylie's mother got up and Kylie hadn't come home. So massive search that went on for over 2 weeks. And there were there was dodgy stuff going on with a lot of the teenagers. None of the teenagers would talk. There was absolutely no social media at all from the party. There was nothing uploaded online, even though I've heard people who were locals say, yeah, there was. It just all got pulled down. There were no photos from the party. No one was at the party, apparently. Anyway, Adventures with Purpose came in, and they found her vehicle upside down in 14 foot of water in the Prosser Reservoir. Now, the thing with that is that, yeah, Elena, I do want to talk about that. There's a few cases that are going on at the Alana, sorry. You corrected me and I still messed up. I'm so sorry. There's a few Aussie cases that I do want to do some discussions on, and hers is one of them. Kylie was found in 14 foot of water. Her car was upside down. She was in the very back of her vehicle. It was a Honda SUV. I can't think what the model was, and I should know. There were so many things that just did not look right. Not the least of which being that there had been countless helicopters and planes that flew over that reservoir searching for Kylie's vehicle. And the flight paths went over the reservoir, like over the exact location where Kylie's vehicle was found. Kylie's vehicle, CRP, thank you, BTTV. I got a little bit emotional after playing Fiddling Man. It kind of screwed with my brain a bit. The helicopters would have seen the car. I have no doubt about that. I've done videos showing it. I've got a really long Kylie Rodni playlist. There was the flight paths went directly over the location where her car was found. The location where her car was found was the location where her phone last pinged, her phone which has not been found. Or that we don't, as far as we know, has not been found. The autopsy didn't even match Kylie's description. So many things didn't match with the autopsy. But the huge thing with the autopsy was that there was no signs that Kylie had any alcohol in her system, other than I've got to comment on Fisher's drones, because that is one of my biggest bugbears, and I'll come back to that. There was no water in her lungs. There was no sign whatsoever that Kylie drowned. There was no alcohol in her system. The only level of ethanol that was found in her system was consistent with decomposition. There were so many credible sightings of her vehicle in the period that she was missing. I could go on all day with all the things that no diatoms in the lungs, sinuses, GI tract, ear canals, nothing. The lungs were the weight of a small child. Had she drowned, all the it's called alveoli. All the alveoli in the lungs would have absorbed water, and they would have weighed more This happened in 2022, August 22. So it seems almost certain that Kylie did not drive herself into the reservoir. It seems almost certain that it's been a massive cover-up to protect some very, very, very wealthy little children. Well, not children now, but, you know, young adults. She was deceased before she went in the water. There's no evidence whatsoever that she was breathing when she went into that reservoir. None at all. I do want to address this comment about Fisher's drone picking up. It wasn't dry drowning. It wasn't dry drowning. You don't dry drown in 14 foot of water. Oh, I didn't know that about Justin. I will have to get him in on a live stream at some time. Okay, I've got to address this misinformation because Steve Fisher reminds me a lot of the Vodka Man with his BS. There was, after Kylie was found, Steve Fisher, you might have heard of this guy because even before Kylie, he inserted himself in Gabby's case, Gabby Petito. And then he's been inserting himself in cases ever since, and he inserted himself in Kylie's case. We all do. Most of us got blocked by him on X because you don't disagree with the guy or he blocks you. Sounds familiar? After Kylie was found, he posted a still shot on his X account saying, "I've just checked my drone footage from when I checked the reservoir." Now, he had published 2 lots of drone footage where he'd flown his drones over the reservoir. Now, before he put this post on X, he made them private so people couldn't go back and look at them. But of course, I had actually saved those. Now, this idiot posted this still shot on his X page saying, "I've just checked my drone footage and look, I actually found Kylie's car. See, you can see this still shot of Kylie's car in the reservoir." The problem is, when you look at this still shot that he shared, you can see the boy that was attached to the car, or as Americans call it, buoy. Sorry if people are wondering what I'm talking about. When Adventures with Purpose found Kylie's car, they dropped a boy onto her car using magnet. So in all the footage, in all the aerial footage of them retrieving Kylie's car, you can see the boy. In some of the shots, the angle of the light makes it look just like a white dot, but it's really, really clear. Not only that, the drone footage that Fisher took, because it was a different day, the colour of the water came up different. And also because Kylie was being retrieved Kylie's vehicle was being retrieved late into the afternoon. So the watercolour in all the footage of them retrieving Kylie's vehicle was a completely different colour. The image he had posted was a still image from helicopter footage of them retrieving Kylie's vehicle. And he posted it and was telling people, "Look, I picked it up on my drone. Yeah. There was BTTV. This guy was basically telling people that he had seen Kylie's car on his drone, but he hadn't checked the footage. And that people had pointed it out to him. And power of suggestion. Another YouTuber, who I do hold in really high regard, got on her channel and did a live stream, and she was looking at the cloud patterns on the footage from his drones and saying, yes, I can see the car. And I didn't argue it because she was a friend at the time as well. But this was after I had shared a video showing that no, Fisher's drone did not pick up Kylie's vehicle. Because when he flew his drone over the location where Kylie's vehicle was, there was so much cloud coverage that all you got was this reflection of clouds on the water. And even if you had amazing vision and maybe could see a sign of the car there, it wasn't the still shot that he'd shared on X. It was just a big scam by this guy doing the vodka man thing. Look at me, I solved the case. Anyway, is that the video that it was on BTTV where she was saying that it was the car? Yeah. Now here's the thing. Another example of a private investigator who was not registered. At the time, he was not registered in California as a private investigator. People chucked up a fuss, so he got registration, and then he flashed it in their faces and went, see, I am registered as a private investigator in California. But if you go back and check, you could see that he actually only did it after people pointed it out. Anyway, that's my little Kylie rant. I will definitely be doing some Kylie live streams in the future because there's so much of her story that needs to be told. There's a lot of people who are new to the true crime world who haven't heard Kylie's story, and there's a lot of people who are not familiar with Kylie's story, and especially now with this lawsuit, are basically sharing the official story of Kylie having driven herself into the reservoir and drowned. But Kylie did not drive herself into that reservoir. She did not drown. There were some very rich, very influential families behind what happened to Kylie. And you guys know me, I am a critical thinker. I am a logical thinker. I am not someone that jumps onto mindless conspiracies. I go with the evidence. And all the evidence points to the fact that Kylie did not drive herself into that reservoir. There is absolutely no evidence that she drowned. There's no evidence that she was still breathing when she went into that reservoir. And there's more evidence of her vehicle not being in that reservoir till at least 10 days after she went missing. I think most of us believe that the vehicle was put in the reservoir on around the 17th or the 18th of August. Alana, there's been a lot of debate in terms of what happened. Interestingly, there was an arrest while they were looking for Kylie of a young guy for fentanyl. He gave his minor girlfriend, I think 15, 16-year-old girlfriend, fentanyl, and she died. And he was arrested while Kylie was missing. There was a huge fentanyl problem at the time. So there was a lot of debate over that. There was also debate over Fight Club, that she was lured to the party for the purpose of Fight Club with another girl, and that something may have happened. There wasn't any sign of fentanyl in her system, but the tests that they did not actually test her for fentanyl or any of those other synthetic kind of drugs. They chose not to do the additional testing. And that information comes from a doctor who did lots of discussions on the case. So we will never know. There could have been fentanyl in her system, but they did not test. They just went with accidental drowning, even though there was absolutely nothing in the autopsy that would indicate drowning. So it seems like either that it was a drug overdose or an injury from Fight Club. Dr. Amy Salerno. Thank you. Yes. Oh, she was threatened, was she? Wow. There were 2 other young people who lost their lives in suspicious circumstances. And BTTV, did we ever find anything out about Dante? Tonight is going to be about Jack and Lily, and I have spoken a lot about Kylie, but people have asked a lot about Kylie, so I just wanted to clarify. I wanted to just give a bit of understanding. There were 2 other people, 2 young children or young teenagers. Did the suspect guy come from money? Kylie's boyfriend comes from one of the richest families, one of the most influential families in the United States, with connections to the White House, with connections to Bohemian Grove, with connections to the Masons. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that because I will come back and do some live streams on Kylie. Trinity, yeah, that's the other one. I do need to get back to talking about Trinity and Dante and Kylie, but I will do live streams. Just a few other things before we jump back in. I did a live stream yesterday on Kristen Smart. If you haven't caught that, it's there to be watched. I've now created a Kristen Smart playlist, which I realise there's a few other older videos in there. And I will be doing statement analysis on Paul Flores and on Susan Flores, and I'll do them, and then I'll be doing some more live streams on Kristen Smart after I've done those. What else do I need to cover? Charmaine's live yesterday. She addressed the Scamnita issue, and she made some really, really good points. She also gave me a bit of an ego boost because she played my video. But that's neither here nor there. She did make some really good points. So if you haven't caught Charmaine's live stream from yesterday, it's worth watching. Ironically, cool, thanks BTTB. I need more on Dante and on Trinity, BTTB. That's my kind of weak area. Ironically, Charmaine mentioned yesterday about these grifters who put everything behind a paywall, put their content behind members only. And guess what Vodka Man did overnight? Made all his Anita lives members only. Anyway, I'm not a fan of people who hide content behind paywalls like that. I will, like I've said, I will preview things with members occasionally and then make them public. But I'm not going to take something that's public and think, oh, this is going to make me money if I make it members only, because then people are going to want to watch it and they're going to come and get membership. That is grifting. There's no other way of describing it. It is grifting. Now, I know I'm very late getting into covering this with Jack and Lily. I do talk a lot about Kylie, I must admit, but I did want to discuss the Ryan thing, and I did want to just give people a bit of information, because I know that with the lawsuit, people are getting the standard edition version of Kylie's case, which is not the truth. Okay, so let's see how much we can get through today of this Daniel interview.
How close Malehya was to her best friend Angeline during the time that she lived with you. Is that the friend that she stayed in contact with, or like, do you know Angeline?
Yeah, and I don't have anything bad to say about Angeline. I'll be the first to say that she did have contact with Angeline, and Angeline has always been her friend since she was young.
Okay, I'm going to translate that for you. For those of you who may not be familiar with how coercive relationships work, because we know that Malehya pretty much cut everyone else off. That when she moved in with Daniel, we know she told Belinda that Daniel didn't want her to have contact with Belinda, and didn't even want her to give Belinda her address. We heard from Hayley the same thing. So the majority of the people that were around Malehya before she got with Daniel got frozen out. Oh, I hope your pup's going to be okay, Sam Brown. Give your pup a bit of a snuggle and a hug from me. Yes, Charlotte, you know where I'm headed with this. When you have a coercive relationship like this, there is that drawing the line. I don't want you to see these people. I told you about, I've told you many times before about my best friend from childhood. Her boyfriend, who later became her husband, told her he didn't want her talking to me anymore because I was a bad influence. Translation being, she's got a big mouth and she's not going to stand back and stay quiet about things when they're not right. So the reason that he's saying, I don't have anything bad to say about Angeline, and he's pointing out, she was her friend since, she was young. Like Charlotte said, Angeline was quiet. You saw her in the interview with her and Cheryl. Cheryl was leading the interview. Angeline strikes me as someone who's possibly a bit shy. She's certainly a quiet person. She strikes me as someone who's not overly forward in terms of commenting on things when they're not happy with things. She wouldn't have rocked the boat, essentially. And what you see in these coercive relationships, the only way that someone who is the controller in these kind of relationships, the only way they can achieve forcing their partner to cut off ties with everybody else is to concede one or two friends, or a friend and a family member. And those people are usually either, in Cindy's case, someone who he just couldn't cut off because he knew that would be pushing things too far. But in Angeline's case, she was no threat to Daniel. So Malehya was allowed to stay friends with Angeline because that wasn't any threat to Daniel. So that is why here he's saying he doesn't have anything bad to say about Angeline. She towed the line for 2-3 years. She didn't say anything to Malehya that he's aware of that undermined his control. Yeah, that was heartbreaking when Angeline said that Lily loved her food. Yeah. She definitely strikes me as a sort of a sweet, quiet person. That's the sort of person that is allowed in these coercive relationships. I had another friend who was in a coercive relationship. But she was 10 years older than me. So there was a massive age difference. And I think because of the age difference, her husband didn't see me as a threat. So I was the only person who was allowed or encouraged to go to her house. So I'd go to her house on like Thursday nights. I'd take a couple of beers over for her, and I might have like a can of Woodstock or something. And I was seen as not being a threat because I was like 10 years younger than her. So there was that imbalance of power, kind of like, I was more like a little sister and wasn't seen as a threat because of the way our friendship was. But had I been the same age as her, with my big mouth, I would never have been allowed near her house. So it seems to be, certainly in my experience and from what I've heard from other situations of coercive control, there's usually that one friend that is allowed as a friend because they are no threat. How do you reply to a certain comment? The only way you can do it is to as far as I know, is to actually type the @ with their name, and then reply. Other than that, I wish that was something that was possible in chat, where you could just click on someone's comment and reply. Would make life so much easier. Anyway, moving on from that, he's basically shown us here the classic coercive control situation, in my opinion.
And, you know, they enjoyed horses. And somebody's just laying on their horn when they're driving by. But, yeah, Angeline was always Malehya's close friend. She was never friends with Cheryl. Like, she never talked about Cheryl. I don't have anything bad to say about Cheryl either. Malehya never told me any bad stories about Cheryl. Malehya never told me any, you know, bad stories about Angeline.
So, hi, Cesar. Welcome in. First of all, I think the horn was, I think this was when the search was going on or something. I do recall someone making a comment that they knew that he was live with Charmaine and that they did that deliberately. Well, you know, good luck for them. Like, grow up. Here we have him saying, pointing out she was never friends with Cheryl. I did show you the photo yesterday that shows that there was still that connection there with Cheryl, because of course Cheryl is Shelby's sister. And we saw that photo from Jack's birthday at Paddy's place, where Lily was on the slide and you could see Cheryl sitting on a sofa behind her. So we know that there was a connection with Cheryl, but it seems a lot of people are saying, yeah, they weren't. I mean, even Hayley has said that they weren't friends before the children went missing. I find it interesting that he's saying, I don't have anything bad to say about Cheryl. Given that Cheryl is Malehya's mouthpiece, given that Cheryl has pulled some pretty dodgy stunts, it's interesting. There's a comment that Daniel has made at another time, which makes me, hang on, I will star that, Gerald, and I'll come back to it. I can put it up on stage. There's a comment that Daniel has made, which makes me wonder if Cheryl was one of the go-betweens between him and Malehya after Malehya left. Because I have no doubt that they continued to communicate for some time after Malehya left. That's my opinion anyway. The 11 p.m. call was not verified, and I don't believe the 11 p.m. call occurred, because in the documents we have it laid out, all the phone calls, all the attempted phone calls between Malehya and Cindy, and it lists the FaceTime calls, it lists the missed calls in the morning. It doesn't say anything about an 11 p.m. call. Now, given that those documents are there showing that, you know, they're under the Missing Persons Act, so they're not suggesting anything criminal with those documents, meaning that those documents are going with the accepted line of the children went missing Friday morning. So they would have no reason to leave that 11 p.m. call out of the documents whatsoever. They included the 8:30 a.m. call, which basically makes Malehya look pretty guilty, and that would make her look far more guilty than an 11 p.m. call. Oh, look, the 11 p.m. call has got various versions. It is, again, one of those stories where it came out as an 11 p.m. call. People called it out and said, yeah, no, that's BS. And now they're changing the story again and saying it's a Snapchat. So, no. Now, also, and this is why I agree with Charmaine, this Anita woman needs to be shut down permanently. No, the teacher would not have called Malehya at 9:38 in the morning. Go and sit in a classroom. Well, you know, if you've got young children or grandchildren. Go in for parent help first thing of the morning. And especially when you're talking about kids Lily and Jack's age, that first hour of a classroom is like herding cats. Nobody is going to get a call from their child's teacher before recess time. And chances are they're not going to. Morning break is not 9:38 a.m. And when you are talking about early childhood, teachers aren't going to be making phone calls in that 15-minute break when the kids are in the playground. That's their breathing time. That's their time to make coffee, to find a quiet place and recharge for the next round. Teachers do not make phone calls through the day, and certainly not in the early morning when the activities they're going to be doing with children Yep, so the morning break is between 10 and 10:45. So, you know, it would have been I like the idea of a staggered morning recess, although that does create more issues for duty for teachers because it would mean they would have to spend more time doing duty as opposed to hiding in a staff room and just breathing. If anyone was going to make a phone call in the morning, it would be office staff. But the thing is, office staff are not going to be following up on attendances that have been marked. They've got enough to do in that morning block that they're not going to go, hey, look, yeah, this kid's been marked absent again. Let's ring them. It's just not going to happen. I don't know why that story has come out, but it's just never going to happen. Especially not a teacher that is working with children that are early childhood. No, not even if CPS was waiting there. If CPS turned up at the school and wanted to do an interview with the children, observe the children or whatever, then it's going to be handballed back to CPS. Teachers don't have time to be secretaries for CPS. Oh, hang on a minute, let me leave these kids to run rampant in the classroom while I go and just ring the mother of this child that you want to see, who's actually marked the child absent, to find out why she's not here. That's the job that CPS actually do. It's just not going to happen. Anyway, I'm going to move on. Because, you know, this is not what we're talking about today.
Malehya told me lots of shit about everyone else. Sorry for my language, but I'm not here to repeat what Malehya says. I mean, I could, you know, make people look bad or bash them, but I'm not going to do that.
Still trying to maintain control. That is, I have worked within the education system. I have a very good understanding of the education system. I have a very good understanding of child welfare systems. I've said this on my channel multiple times. There are far too many grifters on YouTube who use their credentials to get people to believe what they're saying. And I will never do that. I will never use my credentials to sell my channel. So my professional background is not something that I'm going to share on my channel, because I want my content to be the reason that people listen to me. I don't want to be like the person who claims they're a cop and turns out that they're a mole security person. Like, seriously. I'm not a fan of people who try to sell their profession to convince people to view them. It doesn't matter. And I've seen people abuse that far too often for me to want to do anything like that. So people can speculate over my professional background, whatever, it's up to them. But it's not something that I want to share publicly, because I don't want to be colouring people's views of what I'm putting out. I don't want to be that mall cop that's claiming they're a police officer and then puts out all this BS information, and people believe them because they think they're actually a police officer. Anyway, I think you guys know exactly who I'm talking about, but we'll move on for that. What he's doing here when he's talking about that he's not going to repeat what Malehya says, but he could make people look bad. He could bash them. He can't stop trying to undermine Malehya's relationships with people. This is most likely complete utter BS. What he's doing is he's still trying to isolate Malehya. He knows he's got no control over Cheryl. He knows he's got no control over Angeline. So he can't attack them because that's going to go against him. What he's doing here is trying to convince other friends of Malehya that she's bad-mouthed them, so that they're not going to go flocking to Malehya to give her their support. You know, this is, it's backwards threats, but it's also making sure that Malehya stays isolated, but it is also the backwards threats. If you come out and you start supporting Malehya, well, I've got information on you that I'm going to share publicly. Yeah. It's all about control for Daniel. That's all it is. Oh, yeah. He does that so often. He doesn't want to put her down. But then he does. He just does it in an underhanded way. So, you know, this is all manipulation. This is calculated control, essentially.
Who, I don't know if you want to say if you still believe who put the blanket up in the tree, and also somebody's looking for your opinion on how the boot prints got up on the pipeline, if you have any ideas.
That boot print on the pipeline, that was never actually confirmed 100% to be Jack or Lily. They just see that as the best potential evidence that's not on the property that's a boot print. Right? Because there was a boot print found right beside in front of Mom's RV, coincidentally right where Malehya was standing when she made the dispatch call in the same area. And that
Ding, ding, ding. There you go, straight up. And I'm going to put Bonz's comment up because this ties in straight up. Ties in with what Bonza and Charlotte are saying. Coincidentally, this boot print that was found on the driveway was right next to where Malehya was standing when she made the dispatch call. He's leading people in the direction he wants them to go. He wants them to draw the conclusion that Malehya planted the boot print in the driveway. So true, Crazy. I think it was discounted. The thing is, there was an account at one point of there being more than one boot print in the driveway. But I think that was confusion from the ones, or the clump or whatever it was, having been found on the pipeline. It just may be that it just wasn't included in the documents because it wasn't needed for whatever they were after. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, the documents aren't going to include everything. And, you know, like I said, one of the documents is document 117, and we've only got about 13 documents. So there's a heck of a lot of documents that we've got no idea what they are. He's going out of his way to explain this boot print on the pipeline. Now, I don't know if it's because he actually understands the bit in the document, and this is something he wants to use to make himself look smart. But he does seem to really want to go overboard with explaining the boot print. You'd like to know why Baby Monkey was flipped at when she asked about the 9:30 a.m. call from the school. What do you mean by flipped at? If you mean me saying that it seems highly unlikely, I think I explained why. But as for, yes, you know, there's so many different versions of things that are in the documents, in early statements. I wouldn't say I got upset. It was actually, if I did sound upset, I apologise. I certainly wasn't upset with Baby Monkey. There was one person who was, she brought it up, and there was nothing wrong with bringing that up. There was one person who was pushing that narrative and pushing back over my response, and then asked my credentials, and I got annoyed at that. But I certainly wasn't annoyed at Baby Monkey. So I hope she's still in here. I really, really hope Baby Monkey isn't, it wasn't directed at her. You know, she's always respectful. She always comes in here. She treats everyone with respect. She asks questions respectfully. I've got no issues with her. Right, so we're talking about the boot print in the driveway. Now, I'm just going to say, I know there's a lot of questions, a lot of things going back and forth. I want to focus now on what we're looking at here, because I think things are getting a little bit heated in the chat, and I don't want to play into that. I apologise profusely to Baby Monkey if I've upset her. Maybe, and I know I said I want to get straight on with this, but let's just have just a little breather before we, just to bring the mood back down.
I'm a math man, yeah, I count cans, live in a trailer with rusted pants. Mom's dog's bald, it's got no flair, lost all its hair, and it don't care. Pink blankets, lies I've told again, footprints vanish like phantom friends. I'm Superman, tangle faster than wind, stronger than a chopper with a rotor spin. I rake my driveway for mom shakes her fist. Super Daniel, yeah, I can't be missed.
I like this one better, I think.
Not allowed on mama's ATV. She says I drive it recklessly. X wrote her name on my mirror in red. Now I'm searching cold, it's like I lost my head. Dirt roads, rivers, waist high deep. Virginia slims, I'm puff and leap. I'm Superman, Daniel, faster than wind, stronger than a chopper when the rollers spin. I rake my driveway for mom shakes her fist. Super Daniel, yeah, I can't be missed. No, out on mama's ATV. She says I drive it recklessly. X wrote her name on my mirror in red. Now I'm searching covers like I lost my head. Dirt roads, rivers, waist high deep. Virginia slims, I'm puff and leap. I'm Superman, Daniel, arrogant and bold, strutting pop lines in the cold. Work one day a week at the sawmill grind. Super Daniel, yeah, I own my time. I'm Superman, Daniel, arrogant and bold, strutting pop lines in the cold. Work one day a week at the sawmill grind. Super Daniel, yeah, I own my time.
Even with me running through the woods over the head of the helicopters and head of the drones and stuff like that.
That's a good one.
Okay, hopefully that's brought the mood back down. Bonzo, I was just checking messages while that was playing, and I got your message. So yeah, I agree. Okay, so we're talking about the boot prints. etc. He continues on. This is Daniel, the forensic expert. So let's hear about Daniel's knowledge of forensics.
So they could they did the forensics on physical forensics on the bootprint that was found on the pipeline, and with Jack and Lily's boots, because they went to Walmart and investigators bought the same boots, because every single boot has a different tread. The tread will still be the same, but the width of the tread marks on the boots are significantly different for each size. So they had to get the exact same size as Lily's and the exact same size as Jack and the same brand and the exact same model of boot. And they checked them with the forensics on the pipeline, and it's not 100% match. You know, we can say it's a 90% match or an 80% or even 95, but there's a difference between 95 and 100. That's not 100%. So that blueprint on the pipeline, it doesn't contain 100% accuracy. So we can say it's a toss up. It's either yes or no if it's Lily or Jack. And there's no in between.
It's a good thing I'm not on camera because I snorted yet again. I shouldn't say that given the recent video I put out. I couldn't help laughing. You know, we can say it's a 90% match, or an 80%, or even 95%. But there's a difference between 95 and 100. That's not 100%. Oh my gosh. Seriously. Seriously. Like, I'm just mind blown. That's mods, please remind me of that quote. I do have to watch my word sponsor. Mods, please remind me of that quote after the live stream. Now, yes, it is a form of forensics, but it's basic forensics. They do a cast. They have these little sealed packages of what is essentially plaster. They open them up and it's a putty, and they put that into the boot print and they take it back to the lab. All they do is they then match it up with other boot prints. Doesn't need a lengthy explanation. But he gets so excited over how things work. This guy would have been the kid that pulled everything apart when he was a child. Because he's just fascinated with how things work. But his getting overexcited by it as this is forensics. This is Stone Age forensics. If this is the sort of forensics you get excited over, that's a little bit disturbing. But he's just trying. Oh, I know. The whole thing is just hilarious. It either matches or it doesn't match. Well, yeah. What other option is it? Honestly, you've just got to wonder. I don't know what a Tonks. Oh, you mean Tonka toy boy? Probably, yeah. Jeannie, that's why I said to my mods that they had to remind me of this after the live stream, because I think we need a song about Daniel and his forensics. And I like that title, Lab Man Dan. So I'm going to write that down. Watch this space. There will be a song coming out. I mean, really, it's just him trying to seem knowledgeable. But he's just fascinated with I've got to move on from this because, like, oh my gosh, it's just doing my head in. It's just hilarious. Yes, he is an expert on the search dogs, and he gave a great explanation there too, didn't he? Oh dear. Yep. We are going to need I'm going to need mods to screenshot some of these brilliant comments that are being made to help me out with a song for Labman Dan. Marilyn's, yes, he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. Forensic math man. Oh yeah. BTTV, you can help me with this. Oh dear. He's an expert on everything. So maybe it needs to be a song on Dan the Expert. It's classic. Yeah, we should. Although I'm not as good as Justin is at, like, doing it in chat and stuff like that. But definitely, I hope someone is screenshotting these for me, because if you've got comments, if you've got lines for a song, please throw them into chat right now, because it will give us something to run with, and yeah, there will definitely be a song from this. So if you have a line that you wish to add, please do so, because these things are so much better when you bounce ideas off other people. Classic. Yeah, you could do it in comments when the live is over. That's a really good idea, Bonza. After the live stream, please feel free to leave any comments underneath this live stream with lines or suggestions for Forensic Labman Dan. Let's do a bit more of this audio. Oh yeah, quite the stuttered forensics. Forensics. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Anita?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I love how he's just like, you ask anyone, what are your thoughts on Anita? You get the same response. It's like their brain is trying to process Anita, because you never get an immediate response. There's this processing time with, holy crap, where do I start?
Very. Oh, I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Who sent in that question? Jesus. I think Anita is magnitudes above the amount of delusion that anyone else in this case has brought forward. And every 5 minutes, it's a change in story with her. And the things she says are simply rage bait and clickbait to draw attention to herself. And and Malehya had her around our daughter. And I think that was very, very bad to do. Because I seen the level of delusion that that lady has. I mean, we all have. From saying I drugged Malehya to saying that I pimped out Malehya to saying that Chance Lays made that recording. And that recording was some of the most entertaining but sickest displays of human nature I've ever come across.
There's always going to be at least one time during the live stream when I forget to unmute my mic, isn't there? You'd think I'd learn by now. Yes, in answer to your first question, Alana, Vodka Man has put all the Anita lives behind a paywall now. It's, yeah, classic. Good point. His voice is suddenly calm. You think some were deleted? I know there was one that was deleted almost straight after it went live. Wouldn't be surprising if he's deleted a few. Some of the recent lives, he did a bit of briganding, which is basically sending people over to another channel to harass them. And one of those people was, after they made a comment accusing me of doxing, I made a response saying, yes, actually doxing is against YouTube's terms of service, as is briganding. Good thing I don't do either of those on my channel, because someone who is going to brigand another content creator may well lose their channel for doing so. So it seems that maybe he's made them members only because he's afraid of losing his channel. And maybe he deleted some because he's afraid of losing his channel. Was something else I saw here that I was going to... Oh, yeah. The photos that you've seen of Anita are all from about 2018, 2019. So, I'm guessing she's not quite so young looking now. I hadn't noticed if any were deleted. I'll have to have a look. Not that I'm ever intend on paying membership for his channel. But, you know, it's... You can delete them, you can make them members only, but it's still stuff that you have published on the internet. It's still out there. I think he's been dying. I think Daniel has been dying for someone to ask him this question about Anita, because it sounds like he has prepared an answer long ago. And again, he got the thesaurus out for his answer. Yeah, I showed that at the beginning of one of my live streams this week, where she claimed that she turned 54 2 years ago. So no, she's not 54. And I know a couple of people got their knickers in a knot with me saying, well, you know, sometimes we do lie about our age. But my point with it was that basically for her, it's all about appearance. I think he's got questions that he's been wanting to answer. And it sounds like this is a question that he was desperately waiting for someone to ask him that. Because when you listen to the language again, it certainly sounds like he's sat down beforehand and thought about how he would answer it if someone asked him that. He uses the $5 words again. Magnitudes above the delusion. And even just the whole sentence. I think Anita is magnitudes above the amount of delusion that anyone else in the case has brought forward. Exactly, Marilyn. He's trying to sound intelligent, but he just sounds like a twat. Yeah, he sounds like he's swallowed a thesaurus. Oh dear. It's he just needs to quit trying to play all these different roles because it just isn't working for him. Yeah, now he's a psychologist. No, I think this is an answer that he has memorized in his head. I think when he knew he was going to talk to Charmaine and he was hoping the topic of Anita would come up. So I think he's probably sat there and gone through the answer in his head 100 million times. And then when he's been going through the answer in his head, he probably thought it didn't sound smart enough because he likes his big words. So then he probably had to go look up some words to replace the words that he was going to use. Or maybe he typed the entire sentence into AI and said, make it look smarter, and got this ridiculous AI response. But it's something that he's rehearsed or he's written down. And he was desperate for someone to ask this question. One parting shot from BTTV. Good night. Thanks for coming in, BTTV. Classic. That's a good line. I mean, he is sort of right in terms of rage bait and clickbait, but that's not how she sees them. That's how Vodka Man sees them. He knows that the stuff that she comes out with is getting him views. He knows that the more ridiculous it is, the more people are going to watch. It is a fine line for a song. So I hope someone actually screenshotted it for me because it was brilliant. But for her, she doesn't see it as rage bait and clickbait. It's a way of getting attention for her, purely and simply. I've said this a few times. I believe that she has a histrionic personality, and it allows her to feel a sense of control when she's creating this sort of chaos, conflict, drama, but it also is the sort of thing that she thrives on. It's the sort of thing that she needs for existence. But he's made a really good point. She was around that baby, even if it was only for 2 hours. That woman should never be allowed around anyone's children, in my opinion, because she's nuts. Maybe he did Google how to sound smarter. Quite possibly. She truly is. She truly is. Karen, there was a person in the chat yesterday who has spoken to a number of people who know this woman, and who basically said exactly what she's like. I must admit, I would love to hear from her in terms of names of people that I could contact to find out a little bit more information about this woman, because she seriously does have some issues. I could see a song in that too, Crazy Buck, definitely. Smart talk for dummies. Totally. Now, obviously, you know, Daniel's saying that he's horrified about Malehya having her around his daughter. He's only saying that to throw shade on Malehya. He's only saying that to weigh things towards him because of CPS. Yep. It is my understanding that at least 2 of her 3 children were not raised by her and have nothing to do with her. I'm not sure if that's, I mean, I've heard it from a few sources, so it is quite possibly truthful. I have heard that she was not a good mother herself. There's a few other things that I suspect about her, but that I think are probably not something that I would discuss publicly in terms of mental health issues and stuff like that. But I think that a psychologist or a psychiatrist could have an absolute field day with her. She's definitely a bit kooky, to say the least. Oh, classic. Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't think she actually named any places, though, that she claims that she owned. The stories she comes out with are just so... I knew you meant pub. We all know how spell check is these days. It just autocorrect. It just changes it all the time. But yeah, so he's basically, I think, Daniel and Janie, part of the reason why they so want to talk about Anita is not just because it's deflecting from them, but in Daniel's case, it is a great argument for being able to say, hey, you know what? Malehya allowed this woman around our baby. Oh dear. Yeah, it's the things that go on, seriously. Gotta worry. And then the chance thing. Now, again, seems like Daniel hasn't finished digesting that thesaurus, because the next line that comes out of his mouth just cracked me up so much. This is hilarious.
That left it such an open-ended...
Hang on, I'll go back.
That left is such an open-ended.
Okay, not
Of
enough.
that.
Hang on, sorry. Right, if I go to... Why won't it... Skipping... I have to go a little bit further back because it keeps skipping. Oh, stupid thing. Okay.
The most entertaining but sickest displays of human nature I've ever come across. That left is such an open-ended feeling for me. It's just, first of all, why would you entertain a phone call like that, Anita, and say the sick things that you did? And that's not the entirety of that recording, I do believe. I think there's a lot more to that recording than meets the eye and that's ever been brought forward or displayed on the internet. And I want to say the exact same thing for Jordan. Jordan has, been my friend for over 20 years. I have nothing bad to say about Jordan. He's an amazing guy, and he, as he said for me, he would give you his shirt off his back if you needed it. And Jordan helped me through like a lot of times I had over the last year where every day wasn't the greatest. And there's a lot of conversations between Jordan and Anita, I think, that were never brought to light, and it was only the terrible stuff that was ever brought to light. No one wants to put out something that's actually viewer friendly, we'll say. I want to say this too. Jordan, he wasn't ever planning to having defend himself for no reason. It was his father that brought him in. And being my friend. All he ever wanted to do was stick up for me because he believes I'm innocent. And I am innocent.
Okay, I'll stop it there. I wanted to get up to that bit. So he's just, doing the hard sell on Jordan, but it's taking him forever to do the hard sell on Jordan because he's struggling with what to say. Which, if he's such a good person, it should be gushing out of you, not pauses here and there. He hasn't actually denied here that conversation wasn't chance. Just going back to that, I probably should have paused before some of this because there's a lot here to go back through. And Janie said the same thing, pretty much word for word. Yeah, Jordan was lying low until then, essentially. He wasn't planning to have to defend himself because he was hoping people wouldn't notice he existed. But then Durwood came out with his big mouth and suddenly people started looking more closely at Jordan and suddenly realised that there were things to question. Now, had it just been a situation of Durwood coming out and then Jordan losing his crap with Dolly, going on Dolly's channel and doing that call-in where he just lost the plot completely about people talking about his father, had it been just that and there was, nothing, no smoke, essentially, people would have forgotten about Jordan pretty quickly. But he drew attention to himself and people started noticing the problems. And Daniel has really struggled here to try and make him sound like he's a good bloke. Because obviously these guys are good friends. They share hobbies, shall we say. So, you know, the fact that he can't just fluidly just go on about how good a person Jordan is tells you something. But the comment that I thought was hilarious was when he was talking about the chance phone call, and he said, "That left such an open-ended feeling for me." What exactly is that supposed to mean? How do you have an open-ended feeling? Because I've never had an open-ended feeling in my life. Because there's no such thing as an open-ended feeling. A feeling is something that just comes on in response to something. It's not open-ended, it is a feeling that you experience. It's not like a question when you can ask someone a closed question, which is like a yes-no answer, or an open-ended question where you're giving them a question that allows them to go further than just a yes-no. It allows them to add more detail. Yeah, he's back to being the fake psychologist. Yeah, that's the big thing here. These people that Daniel is standing up for, these people that we know have criminal records, I just lost a comment there, sorry. Yeah, there are some people, I don't think I would talk to any of her sons. I don't think that would be fair. I think they've had a lifetime of her as a mother. But if you have got some other leads in terms of people that I might be able to contact, I would be very interested in finding out more about this woman. And I'm just going to be quite open. I do want to shut this woman down. She is damaging people's lives. She's making some pretty serious allegations about people. And she's sure as hell muddying the waters with this case. So, yeah, I do want to see her go away forever. Walk away from this case. Go and drink some more wine and go and do your nails and just leave this case alone. Basically. Yeah, sorry, I get really angry because of the things she's said about people is just absolutely disgusting. Utterly, utterly disgusting. And the fact that Vodka Man gives her a platform, that puts him on the same level as her, in my opinion. Now, when he's talking about the chance thing, what he says here is that's not the entirety of the recording. And then he has to throw in, I do believe. I do wonder if it was actually Anita was pestering Chance and he did come back at her and lose his shiz. And that there is more to it and Daniel knows about it. But you know what? They shouldn't be playing that crap on YouTube anyway. Because we saw with Janie the way that Anita deliberately fires people up to get a response. That's what she gets a kick out of. That's how she feels like she controls her world. For her, she feels like she has control if she can get people riled up to the point where they just go off the show, like we've heard with Chance. That would be good, Chicken Whisperer. Yeah, let me know anything you come across, because I think it is time. Anita wants the spotlight. She can get Janita. She wants the spotlight. I'm happy to give her a little bit of spotlight, but not in the way that she wants. Okay, I'm going to move on from the Chance and Jordan stuff. I think yeah, I think, you know, that's a complicated situation. I do think that neither of them are perfect, but I do think that Anita has basically preyed on them and deliberately pushed them to breaking point. And then Vodka Man has used it as content, which is just not acceptable in any way whatsoever. Not acceptable. So, yeah, I'm not going to dwell on that too much. Yeah. It is. It's reactive abuse. Now, we know that both of them have anger issues. We know that both of them are dealing with legal issues at the moment. And I mean, we don't know a great deal about these people. We're only seeing one side of them. Now, the side that we see isn't very flattering, but she's basically doing her best to make them look worse, to serve her own needs. I mean, we can speculate over Jordan's involvement. Oh, yeah. Ditto. I had to take a Sudafed before the live stream because I'm still got a sinus thing going on from being sick last week. But that doesn't turn me into crazy nutso. Yeah. That's all it is. And she thrives on those sorts of interactions. That's what works for her. It gives her a sense of control. Feels like she can control the world around her. But it also gives her that surge of adrenaline that she also needs. There's a lot of complex psychology behind it. Some of it that I probably can't share publicly on a live stream. There's issues for her. Let's put it that way. That sort of behaviour, when a person has to create chaos, has to create conflict to feel in control. That comes from, how can I put this without going too far? It comes from a traumatic background. Anyway, I probably shouldn't go down that road, so I won't go further. It's a tricky thing to be discussing publicly. Sorry. I know that's not a very good answer, but it's unlike Vodka Man and unlike Crazy Woman. There are things that I will not say on my channel, and I'm certainly not going to start speculating about things that I don't have any evidence of, or if I have evidence of that, anyway. Moving on from that, I'm just digging myself a bigger hole there. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I know this has been all over the place, this live stream. Thanks for sticking right through to the end, those of you who are still here. I will be back tomorrow, hopefully back tomorrow with more on this. There are limits in terms of I'm not going to go down that road. I'm not going to go down that road. Ethically, there are things you just don't discuss, especially. Anyway, moving on. Moving on. I'm going to wrap it up here. I will be back tomorrow for another live stream. I will try and get I've got a list of videos that I do want to tackle. So I'm hoping to maybe get a video done today as well. I'll try to get onto it a bit faster tomorrow. I know that I spent a lot of the beginning of the live stream talking about Kylie Rodni and Ryan Upchurch and things like that. And I appreciate those people who maybe were just waiting for Lily and Jack and were waiting for me to get on with that. I know some people find that really, really frustrating. And look, I haven't seen her in chat since, so I do want to put out a public apology for Baby Monkey. You've always supported my channel. You didn't do anything wrong, and I'm sorry if I upset you. I'm sorry if I gave you the impression that I was angry with you or upset, because that was not the situation. So I do apologize profusely. And I hope she's okay. I feel bad. I really do. Anyway, thanks for coming in, people. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button on the way out. Greatly appreciated. Yeah, we do. We all love Baby Monkey. So she's always respectful. She's a part of this community. So yeah, yeah, I hope we can sort things out. Yeah, I didn't see any comments suggesting she was upset. Otherwise, I would have addressed it then and there. So I don't know the full situation. She's more than welcome to contact me to, discuss it. But I'm really sorry. Okay, well, thanks for coming, people, and I'll catch you in the next one.